Hello, everyone. This is Daisy here again, aka Professional High Priestess. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about karmic bloodlines, generational curses, and karmic children, okay? So this video may be really heavy. So, for those of you who are not used to this level of information, I would say maybe you want to start first by understanding intergenerational trauma, how it's passed down through the DNA, reading books like Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy. Also reading books, there's a book called Emotional Clearing, right? On how to help trauma leave the body. There's so many different books that you can go out and read about generational trauma, etc. This is just the next level of that conversation, okay? So, wow. How did I come upon this understanding of generational curses, karmic bloodlines, etc., right? Just through my own experience with my family, of course, coming from a mixed family where, different kids, different dads and moms and things like that. And then also, as I became an educator working within the school system, and then also on my spiritual journey, as I continued my healing and understanding why I had certain things happening to me and being able to work on those and doing a lot of ancestral clearing work with, some amazing people who are really spearheading this work. So I've been on this journey for about 8 years now, like heavy, right? And I've always stuck to it. So that's why I feel like I'm able to come and share these messages with you all, okay? So first things first, when we're talking about, ancestral curses, family curses, etc., these curses are created in a multitude of ways. Let me break down a couple of ways. One, by the things that we don't do, right? So we refuse to stand our ground. We refuse to break cycles. We refuse to see situations for what they are. We refuse to listen to the warnings that are being put out in front of us, right? To prevent us from reproducing with certain individuals or getting into certain jobs or going to certain places or dealing with certain people that end up creating blockages for us. Right? That's one way curses are created. Another way is by us deliberately facilitating certain actions which create harm for other people and harm for ourselves. And the way that can look like is, for instance, let's say you had, grandparents that went to war, and as being a part of that war, they killed other people. Well, it doesn't matter that they were representing an entity called the United States government or whatever government they were fighting on behalf of. It was their individual actions that still pulled the trigger. You see what I'm saying? And there was still harm and suffering and destiny that was changed and altered because of their actions. So that's karma right there. Now, because a lot of us do not have the opportunity to understand how to clear karma from the DNA, right? A lot of us are still sitting with all of the generational karma that our ancestors have created, right? And also the karma that we are now creating in this reality because of the karma that our ancestors left here for us. So when I work with some individuals, all the stuff that they're going through, and then I look into their chart, they're going through these things because they're just repeating the generational curse, right? And a lot of the times with certain people, I can't even work with you because I can't interfere in your karma. That's another thing. For those of you who do this work and you work with certain people, helping them cast spells, etc., just make sure that you're not tying yourself into their generational curse as well, because then you're going to pick up their generational karma too. And that's very heavy, all right? Now, these curses, right? Because of what our ancestors failed to do or what they did do, right? Whether intentionally or unintentionally, a lot of you who have family that, they descended from being slave owners and that type of thing, you guys have heavy karma that needs to be cleared. There's even some of us, who we descended from those who were enslaved, and we have karma too, just based on, the patterns that were passed down our line from being in those hostile, traumatic, and cruel environments for so many years that we did not clear as time continued to go on. And that's where that book, The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, comes in. I really want you guys to read that because it really goes into detail just how succinctly trauma is passed down from one generation to another and ends up manifesting from 1715 to 1700s up until the 2000s today. So those of you guys have that karma in your bloodline. Okay, well, what does that mean? Meaning that, because you have yet to facilitate certain actions, right? Or behavior changes to clear that karma or to make amends for what your ancestors did. Now you have their karma in this lifetime. And a lot of the ways that this karma manifests as in generational poverty, chronic illnesses, bad relationships, addictions, even mental illness. So even the times when I'm dealing with certain people and they have mental health challenges, some of it is generational. It was just passed down because that's a part of the generational curse. And the mental illness can manifest in terms of like psychosis, not being able to be rooted in reality here. It can manifest as schizophrenia, meaning you're walking between multiple different worlds at one time and you don't even know how to close and open those portals accordingly. It can even manifest as like bipolar disorder, being split in two minds, right? Okay. It can manifest as like constant like anxiety, which is basically being pursued by a spirit, being perpetually pursued, right? Take it how it resonates. But I then start to see these things with these individuals because it's from a generational curse. And another thing too, when we're talking about mental health, I'm going to do another video on this, but there's a clear distinction between mental health challenges that are created by our external reality and our upbringing, and mental illness, which is really a spiritual disorder, okay? Because where does the mind exist? So it's like Q-Tip says, it's my brain against my mind, right? You have your brain, which is just the physical structure, and then you have your mind, which is the energy structure, right? Where does the mind come from? It comes from a higher source. It comes from a source beyond our understanding. You don't know where you get your thoughts from. This is where astrology comes in, so you can understand how your mental is going to be working, how your thought patterns are going to be influenced, etc. Right? So now we have, an individual here in the present day. I have my mental health challenges. I have my generational karma. All these things are going on. Now, because of the karma, right? And because karma is an energy that is stuck in our energy field, a lot of you also are inheriting generational energy problems, right? Rips and tears in the auric field, debris in your auric field, sludge and blockages in your auric fields. And those blockages and those energies and those rips and tears that I was just talking about, they attract certain frequencies because they attract certain entities, right? So entities, they're all around us. There's no way to get around that. Okay, and as the more they open specific portals on planet Earth, there's going to be more entities that are even more just hard to even unpack and deal with and clear. But these specific entities, they feed off of energy. They're called Archons. They feed off of energy, and their purpose is to create imbalance and error, because they feed off of the energy and the friction that's created from imbalance and error. Okay? So these entities, now they latch onto your energy field. They latch onto that generational karma. They're like, oh, we got unfinished business here, right? And then you start to attract people, places, things, and experiences which only re-solidify that cycle of trauma, those generational curses, and that generational karma. Okay, so now I'm going through my adulthood. I'm going through my childhood. I'm going through adolescence. I'm in my adulthood now. I'm getting ready to reproduce and have children. I will start to attract relationships that only want that trauma to continue to manifest. That's why you can see entire families, the women picking the same exact men, the men picking the same exact type of women, the same type of domestic violence, the same type of like having multiple concubines and illegitimate children all over the place, right? All of those things start to happen because it's the generational curse replaying itself once again. Okay. So now I'm an adult. I'm getting ready to go reproduce. I got my ancestral trauma and my ancestral curses, right? And unbeknownst to me, I'm going to go attract someone that's either going to help me facilitate that cycle, or I can consciously attract someone who I can work with to remove those barriers and those blockages so that I can have a new beginning, so that I can pick a new cycle. Right? Take it how it resonates. A lot of people, they have curses on their family bloodlines from way, way, way back before even the biblical days. We're talking about the days of the Nubians, the days of the Sumerians, etc., because they may have been witches and warlocks. Because remember, everyone does come from an indigenous bloodline where at least, you can even white people, you can trace as far back. Someone got a witch in their bloodline. Somebody got a witch in their bloodline. And those witches either created harm or they created good, right? And maybe you may not have a witch in your bloodline, but maybe you had ancestors who were part of the Crusades. Maybe you had ancestors who were part of the Ottoman Empire. Maybe you have ancestors who were part of Genghis Khan and his clique, right? Take it how it resonates. But there's karma created because of things that were destroyed, people who were killed, sacrifices that were made, etc. Human destiny being altered, the whole entire destiny of society being altered by the actions of a few individuals, and you have that karma on your back, right? So now it's time for you to reproduce, and then your children are not only going to inherit those curses, but this is something else that can happen. This is why I always tell people, before you reproduce and have a child with somebody, always check the karmic deck. And you can check the karmic deck through the cards and also through the astrology chart, okay? Now, I'm getting ready to reproduce. I meet somebody. They have issues. We don't really get along that well, but I'm going to make it work. Okay, now they get pregnant. Okay, I'm with this person. Unbeknownst to me, this individual has all kinds of curses and blockages and barriers within their bloodline. And me being the person that I am, let's say for instance, maybe I've cleared some karmic debt because of the good that I've done in my career or whatnot. Maybe I have some good karmic debt because I've done my healing work, right? And I attract this person, and unbeknownst to me, I just tied into their bloodline. Now I'm taking on their generational curses. Unbeknownst to me, that child that has now been created is now going to be, you know, another tool to lower my frequency in my bloodline, because something else that ends up happening is some of these individuals who we mix with, they may not even be spiritual. They may be completely materialistic and absorbed, but their ancestors can smell your bloodline. They can smell, you know, your higher vibrational bloodline. They can smell your ancestors, and they want to survive. They want to remove some of the karmic debt. So they're like, you know what? Go tie with that person. Go mate with that person. Go have that person's baby. Go trap them, right? Because that will help elevate our bloodline so that we can, you know, we can be back on the higher planes, because where we are right now in the ancestral realm, we're suffering. We're in hell. And you guys know they've really portrayed this very powerfully in the movie Coco. It's a children's movie, but how some of the ancestors experience the last death because no one is, you know, paying them reverence. But another thing too that can happen is bad ancestors get reincarnated, right? Not all of the ancestors in our line are good ancestors, right? And they want to reincarnate. They want to be back in a body. So they tell you, go mate with that person. Because the way in which your astrology lines up, the way in which your energy fields line up, it will open a portal for us to be able to come through back on planet Earth and create unfinished business. And a lot of times this unfinished business is just creating more generational curses. Just roaming the earth, creating more trauma, more havoc, more blockages. Because their bloodlines are cursed, and that's all they know how to do. Okay, even so much as having sex with these people, they are taking energy from your DNA and from your bloodline and putting it into theirs. And the child is just like the final manifestation of this ritual that's been going on for so long. So now here we are. The person is pregnant. Okay, we're in the situation. Unbeknownst to me, this child, right, is going to lower my bloodline even more, because the other person, the other half, whether it be the mother or the father, right, their bloodline is cursed. So now what do? And this is where we get these kids that come into the reality. And this is something that we need to really talk about. Some of these children are karmic children. They are ancestors reincarnated, and we look at them, oh, they're kids, and then they grow up to be adults, and they're fucking destroying everything because they're karmic. They weren't even supposed to be on this planet in the first place. Right? But because the science of reproduction, the spiritual science of reproduction has been taken away from us, we don't even know this. We're not even paying attention to that aspect. We're just having kids to have kids. Oh, they're light skinned. They're pretty. Okay, we're going to have some cute mixed babies or whatever. Oh, he's tall. He's a basketball player. He got money. I want to have a baby by him. Not even knowing that the whole bloodline is cursed. Not even knowing that the whole womb is cursed. Then you get these karmic children that go ahead and reap havoc on the earth, aka Donald Trump. Right? Just one example of someone who should not even be here. Let's keep going. So then I have these children by this person, and then I'm wondering why I'm always going through some drama, why I'm always tired. Now the child is here, and the child is just an added stressor. I can't even enjoy, fatherhood or motherhood, right? Because the child is half demon because of who I mixed with. If you can do the work to heal some of that karma on your side, of course it will help the child, but that child is also going to have to go through a lot of healing, because remember, they're dealing with half of a curse that you didn't even know about. This is why I be trying to tell people, be careful who you have kids with. Okay? Now, another thing too is, we have these karmic children, or, you're dealing with people who have curses in their bloodlines, and you're like, it's not their fault, I love you, but at the same exact time, it's up to all of us to clear those curses. So you're sitting here talking about, oh, I love this person, they're my thing, they're my that, etc. But they're dealing with the cursed bloodline, and on top of that too, maybe it's not even love. Maybe it's even lust. Some of these people are incubuses and succubuses and have done sex magic on you to keep you there, specifically to get the child. And this is the thing. This happens a lot. This is why I be trying to tell specifically men of color. specifically to men of color. Stop mixing in these hybrid bloodlines. Stop mixing in these cursed bloodlines. Stop. And then you bring these children onto this world and then they end up being confused anyways and going through trauma anyways and creating havoc anyways and lowering the whole entire vibration of planet Earth anyways. Because you didn't realize who you were mixing blood with. And y'all just be so happy just to put your dick in a bitch that's not of color. That's crazy. A lot of these people, a lot of these women too, y'all be chasing after these men because they got money, because he's famous, because he has status, etc. And this motherfucker's a whole demon, a whole incubus. Curse your entire woman, your entire bloodline. You wonder why you have mental health problems. You're wondering why you have reproductive issues. You're wondering why you're always depressed, anxiety, etc. Because you just picked up an entity from this individual. You picked up a spirit from this individual because their bloodline is cursed. And they don't have a clearing process. They don't meditate. They don't do clearing rituals, etc. So of course their bloodline is only going to tie with your bloodline. Now you're taking on their karma. Huh. Very simple. Broke this down in 15 minutes. Very, very simple to understand. So I come from an indigenous bloodline. I'm going to just give you an example. My family were Nigerian, Igbo, but we hail from the Nubian Empire because we were able to trace back our blood through the Cordorfian language tree. Very interesting work, right? So my family came down from Nubia, passed through the Congo into Nigeria, which is where we are today. Right? But because of that, because I know where my bloodline came from and because I know, the karma that's on either side of my family, I'm very conscious, right? About the individuals that I choose to mix with. I'm very conscious about my clearing process and the rituals that I do to clear myself because when and if I have children, I don't want them to inherit that karma. It is very possible to clear the slate so that your children don't inherit some of this karma. This is the new earth. And that's why you're going to start seeing a lot of people getting pregnant just out of nowhere, all of a sudden. Why? Because they know that their time is up because energetically, right, in the spiritual realm, they work with dark forces. Their ancestors are part of dark lineages that are like, you know what? We need to keep populating the earth with these karmic children to keep the cycles going, to keep this lower vibrational stuff going. Because if not, then we're not going to be able to feed and to live and to have energy. So now they're going to be really in hyperdrive. So really, I'm really telling people, protect yourself. Watch who you sleep with. Watch who you have children with. Watch who you deal with in an energetic level. Okay? Because right now it's heavy spiritual warfare. But a lot of people won't even understand what I'm talking about because they're so trapped in the 3D material realms. Having children with someone just because they're light skinned. That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. And their whole entire bloodline is cursed, and then you wonder why your child come out with, multiple disorders and disabilities, etc. Now you know why. And if you're wondering, how do I find out, someone's generational curses or their blockages or whatnot? Look in the birth chart. That's why I always say everyone needs to check your chart. Check your chart, right? Because that'll be the first way to tell you whether or not to even get involved in the situation. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And even when we're talking about karmic children, I think I'm going to do a whole video on this to really get down to the nitty gritty about these karmic children that are going to be coming onto this planet. Because not only are we going to be having karmic children, but we're also going to be having indigo, rainbow, light worker children that needs to come onto the planet, right? And a lot of you individuals who are getting trapped in pregnancies and whatnot with some of these individuals, that's because when it lowers your bloodline and it lowers your DNA so that when you finally do meet that person that you're supposed to have a child with, right? The frequencies can't even harmonize because your DNA has already been stolen by the first baby mama or whatnot. And I've seen this happen to so many people. There's one guy that I was friends with him, lives in his car, complete abject poverty, got hella kids, very handsome, very talented, but all the women that he slept with, that he had children with, he didn't even realize that all those women were succubuses. They sucked up all his energy. All of them. Unbeknownst to him, he chose to have children with them. Yes, he chose that, right? But all his baby mamas, they sucked up his energy. Because he didn't know who he was. He didn't know himself. So he kept on splitting his soul. You guys have to understand, children, when you have children, you're splitting your soul. You are splitting yourself, right? It's like in the, I'm going to give a reference like in Harry Potter. The way in which Voldemort was able to live so long is because he split his soul into 7. And then he's put his spirit into physical objects, right? Called Horcruxes, right? And these Horcruxes were physical objects. It could have been some things were crystals, some things were rings, it was knives, it was clothing items, etc. But because these items could not be destroyed, right? They could not be destroyed. He put his spirit in them so that even if one was destroyed, well, I got 6 more. You see how that works, right? So a lot of y'all don't even realize that some of your children are Horcruxes. So are you going to birth Horcruxes that, bring you life and help your legacy live on and uplift the vibration of the planet? Or are you going to bring Horcruxes that allow dark forces to continue to live on? Which one? You have to make a decision. Now it's time for you to do your homework. So anyways, that's my message for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day.